Hello, everyone. Good evening. Hello. Thank you so much for joining us on our first ever Misha Send-Off. I'm very excited. How about a round of applause for our students? So this year is very special. Mr. McAvoy approached me a year ago, and he's like, how do you feel about one acts? I was like, okay, cool, let's do it. He's like, cool, because I'd like you to go to competition. And I was like, sure, I will. I think that's a great opportunity. And folks, we are going to our very first competition this Friday the 6th. We are going to Ladue High School, and we are performing a selection from James Thurber's, and it's actually called A Thurber Carnival. If you are, I'd actually like to introduce a large amount of people, but I'm going to do it very quickly. If you are in the cast and crew of A Thurber Carnival, stand up right now. Round of applause. That's quite a bit of people. Go ahead and have a seat. Enjoy your yummy snacks. Jen, are you really smurfing down a cookie before you're going to go on? Yeah, you are. Anyway, when we looked at the script, we found a very cute scene in the one act that we thought stood out from the rest, and we decided The Night the Bed Fell was going to be the winner of going to the Misha one act. And the actors that you see down here were selected to be in that scene, so round of applause for the 10 of you. Tonight is not just about the Misha one act, it's about celebrating fine arts in our Bayless School District, especially on the secondary side. Tonight, we want to give you a little taste of the arts. We have our beautiful art displayed by our high school art students under the direction of Miss Patty Mudd. Miss Patty Mudd, can you wave to us? Yes, thank you. She's one of our judges. We will also have music for the MDA class, which is under the direction of Mrs. Cheryl Martini. We will also be having one student play piano, and they're from the Piano 2 class, and that's in the high school, and I would like to wave at Colleen Peary for that. Yay! I'd also like to give a special thanks to our judges, Miss Patty Mudd, thank you. Mr. David Metter, thank you so much. Miss Sarah Reeves, thank you. And Mr. Efkin should be here shortly. We're gonna just give him a thumbs up until he gets here. And one very special thank you to Mrs. Brown, who's provided beautiful snacks and the beverages from the culinary team of the Pro-Star Kids. As always, parents that are here, thank you so much for your support. Without your support, we can't do wonderful things like this. I hope you enjoyed this evening, and a very special thank you to my partner in crime, Miss Dava Lee Brush, who stands by my side and helps me get through it. And a big thank you to the high school administration for believing in me and believing in our students. So, without further ado, I would like to welcome Colleen Peary up. She's going to be playing a song from Piano 2. What's it called?
Parasailing. Parasailing.
Parasailing. It's going to be beautiful. All right, Colleen, whenever you're ready. Thank you so much, Colleen. The next person I'd like to introduce to you is Mrs. Cheryl Martini. We will be watching and listening to some of her garage band MDA class play some of their musical creations. Mrs. Martini, if you want to take the mic and explain how your class works, that'd be wonderful. The mic is on, so come on down.
Good evening, everybody. So we have a two-part MDA class. We call it MDA, as Music Design and Application. And in the first part, the students learn how to manipulate the program, the basics of form and composition. And in the second part, we take it a little farther. This was our first project. I chose 3 of our students, and their assignment was to simply create a remix. Now, a remix can be multiple different things. It's creating something new out of something that already exists. So that might mean taking a piece that's well known to others and creating a new bass line and a new percussion line to go underneath it. That is technically a very simple remix. There could be a mashup. If anybody's ever watched Glee, you know what a mashup is. That is a type of remix. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you 3 different students. Actually, they're going to explain themselves. I'm just going to introduce you to 3 different students. One took a piece probably all of you know that I didn't know anything about because it's a theme song to a television show, and turned it into something a little bit different and more of an 80s vibe. The second person took a popular piece that's on the radio. Is it still on the radio? I don't know. And added, he'll explain it, added more to it. And then the third person created a mashup where he took the music from one popular song and the lyrics and melody from another popular song and mashed them together. I will let them introduce and explain themselves, though.
Hi, my name is Francis. I'm a senior. I chose to remix the official soundtrack of Gravity Falls because I'm aiming for a retro kind of vibe in the remix, with a hint of modernity in it. I derived the melody I used from the intro of the show and transposed it in the key of C to make it easier to work with. I decided to utilize a synthesizer and incorporate it on the main melody to reflect the sound like the 80s and make it sound brighter. After setting the fundamentals for my remix, I concocted a beat that would complement the melody I constructed in the arrangement.
So if you're looking, so what you see, they introduce themselves, and then what you see after that is the actual GarageBand program. So the green, we call them regions, are MIDI regions. That means that is a region that they had to create themselves. It's a MIDI instrument. It's programming the computer to play that sound at that tone, at that volume, at that whatever. Okay, so that one was mainly based off of MIDI. This next one is mainly MIDI, but he throws a little bit of audio track in there. So that's where somebody sat down in a room and actually recorded the audio file that he's putting in there. And for him, he created all the background, the audio file that he manipulated to a new key, which he'll explain, is the syncer. So he took just a blank vocal track and put it in with his music.
Yo, my name is Anthony, and I am a sophomore, and I chose to remix Digits by Young Thug. I chose to remix this piece because I had it stuck in my head the day that we had started the remix. Most of my remix is just layered melodies and chords that match the key of the original song. I added 2 original melodies and original drums that were matching up with the original drums in the original track, but they had more technical hi-hats, more rolls and things, and some other percussion sounds that weren't in the original song. I EQ'd out the bass from the original track, and I added my own bass line along with a few pads and bell sounds that layered with my original bass line, which added more of an atmospheric feel. And that is my remix.
watching y'all's, because you recognize the piece and you're seeing all the, you're hearing the things you might have made changes to. Those are my favorite things to watch you think. So this last piece, I'm not going to play the whole piece for you because he did an amazing job, but the song in total is a little over 5 minutes. So I want to give you a little sample, give you an opportunity for him to explain himself and share it. But I think it's very interesting. He took two popular pieces and created something new out of it. Like I said before, this is completely out of audio waves. So somebody went to a room, recorded this, and we have the audio for it. He did, this is a wonderful example with my students of them collaborating and working together to EQ out the bottom, change the actual key of, I think it's the voice, and it was just this day that they all collaborated to create this one piece was quite a good day for a teacher. So this last piece, I'll let Tommy explain himself.
Hey, it's everybody.
Began my remix with two pieces I enjoy listening to. The first piece is Sweat the Red, written by The Neighbor, and the second piece is Daddy Issues, written by the same band. I chose these two songs to make a mashup because they were an inspiration towards me. The remix of the two songs I chose to make is intended to be slow and largo tempo, as if the bands were to be intoxicated while composing it. I also decided to put these two songs together to make more of a flow as a andante tempo than it did before, and I felt as these two songs fit really well together.
because he made it all the way through the chorus and the verse one time. So they've been working really hard. Make sure you come back and see more of us on April 30th. We have a brand new project that we just started this week that we're hoping to premiere that you'll be really excited about. But get your excitement for the next thing. So thank y'all.
Thank you. All right, here we go. Two people I'd like to point out specifically are our new auditorium manager, Mr. Kenny Greminger. He is a great addition to our Bayless family, and I think that I've been running around a whole lot today, and thank you so much for putting up with my crazy self. And the next person I'd like to point out is, I hope you're not a senior this year, because I'll be very sad. Oh, thank goodness you're not a senior. Emily Kohler, she has composed original music for our one act that we're taking to competition Friday, but she's also composed the entire show for us. So you're going to be hearing some original music that we will be taking to competition. I'd like to introduce you to our wonderful actors that are going to competition. So if you all could come down and just say hello and your name and what grade you're in, and then take your places.
Hi, my name is Deanna. I'm a senior at Bayless.
Next.
My name is Blake. I'm a senior too.
I'm Hania. I'm a freshman.
Hi, I'm Zara, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Colleen, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Selma, and I'm a freshman. I'm Elma, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Sarah, and I'm a junior.
Kyle, I'm a freshman. Chet, I'm a freshman. He's having all of his books translated into French, but they lose something from the original.
She's always looking to the past. Now she wants to be divorced in the Virgin Islands.
Wow. How was I supposed to tell him what happened when I didn't know the French for I have flushed my passport? You know, it's funny, but every time I hang out with a guy, they get all nervous.
You know something, chaps. Love is bottom, but desire just seems to be short a few pounds.
I never dreamed that their union had been blessed with issue until their little daughter stabbed the superintendent of schools.
I worry about all my daughter's boyfriends. They're all kind of weirdos. Why didn't they repeal inhibition while they were at it? Her husband went to bed one night, and everyone thought the bed fell on him.
Well, I suppose the high water mark of my youth in Columbus, Ohio, was the night that the bed fell on my father. It happened that my father had decided to sleep in the attic one night, to be away where he could think. My mother opposed the notion strongly because she said the old wooden bed up there was too wobbly and the heavy headboard would crash down on father's head and kill him. But there was no dissuading him, however, and at 10:15 he went up the narrow, twisting stairs. We later heard ominous creaking as he crawled into bed. Our grandmother, who usually slept with us when she was here, had disappeared some days before.
On those occasions, she was usually gone for 6 to 8 days and then returned growling and out of temper with the news that the Federal Union was run by a passel of blockheads and the Army of Potomac didn't have any more chance than a fiddler's.
We had visiting us at the time a nervous first cousin of mine named Briggs Beale, who thought that he was likely to cease from breathing in his sleep. He thought that if he were not awakened every hour of the night, he might die of suffocation. He had been accustomed to setting an alarm clock to ring at intervals until the morning, but I persuaded him to abandon this because he slept in my room and I told him that if anyone quit breathing in the same room with me, I would awake instantly. And he tested me the first night, which I thought he would, by holding his breath until my regular breathing had convinced him I was asleep. I wasn't asleep, however, and called at him. This seemed to allay his fears a little, but just as a precaution, he put a glass with spirits of camphor on the head of his bed. He said if I didn't awake him in enough time, he would sniff the camphor, a powerful reviver. Briggs was not the only member of his family with their brooches. Old Aunt Melissa Beale,
Who could whistle like a man with 2 fingers in her mouth.
suffered under the premonition that she was destined to die on South High Street because she was born on South High Street and married on South High Street. Then there was Aunt Sarah Schaff.
Ugh! Mom! She can't go to bed at night without the fear that a burglar's gonna get in and blow chloroform under her door through a tube.
To avert this calamity, for she's in greater dread of anesthetics than of losing her household goods, she always piled her money, silverware, and other valuable items in a neat stack just outside her bedroom door with a note reading, "This is all I have. Please take it and do not use the chloroform." But I'm straying from the remarkable events that took place the night the bed fell on my father. By midnight, we were all asleep in bed. The layout of the rooms and the disposition of their occupants is of utmost importance for you to later understand what occurred. In the front room upstairs,
Just under Father's attic bedroom?
yes, were my mother and my brother Herman, who sometimes sang in his sleep, usually, "Marching through Georgia," or "Onward, Christian soldier." Briggs and myself were in the room adjoining to this one. My brother Roy slept in the room across the hall, and our bull terrier Rex slept in the hallway. My bed was an army cot, one of those which are made wide enough to sleep on comfortably only by putting up the two sides, which ordinarily would hang down like the sideboards of a drop leaf table. When these sides are up, it is perilous to roll too far toward the edge, for the bed is likely to tip completely on top of one with a tremulous, banging crash. This is precisely what happened around 2 o'clock in the morning.
It was your mother who, in recalling the story, first referred to it as the night the bed fell on your father.
I was at first unconscious of what happened when the iron cot rolled on top of me, for it left me still warmly bundled up and unhurt. The racket, however, instantly awakened my mother in the next room, who came to the quick conclusion that her worst dread had been realized. The big wooden bed upstairs had fallen on father. She therefore screamed, "We have to go to your father!" It was this shout, rather than the noise of my cot falling, that awakened my brother Herman, who was in the same room with her.
You're all right, Mama.
They exchanged shout for perhaps 10 seconds.
We have to go to your father!
You're all right. That woke up Briggs. By this time, I was conscious of what was going on, in a vague way, but did not yet realize that I was under my bed instead of on top of it. Briggs, awakening in the midst of loud noises of fear and apprehension, came to the quick conclusion that he was suffocating and we were all trying to bring him out. He grasped the glass of camphor and instead of sniffing it, he poured it all over himself. The room reeked of camphor. Choked Briggs, for he had almost succeeded in stopping his breath under the dilute pungent spritz. He leaped out of bed and broke toward the open window, but ended up coming against the one that was closed. With his hand, he tried to beat out the glass, and you could hear it twinkle and crash on the alleyway below. It was at this juncture that I now had the uncanny feeling of my bed above me. Foggy with sleep, I now suspected that the whole uproar was being made in a fanatic endeavor to extract me from what must be an unheard of perilous situation.
Get me out of this!
I bawled.
Get me out!
I think I had the nightmarish belief that I was entombed in a mine. Gasped Briggs, floundering in his camphor. By this time, my mother and my brother Herman had made it to the attic door in order to go up and get father's body out of the wreckage. The door was stuck and wouldn't yield. The general banging confusion was added to by her frantic pulls on the door. This woke up Roy and the dog, who one was shouting questions and the other barking. Father, furthest away and soundest of sleep at all, came to the conclusion that the house was on fire. He wailed in a slow, sleepy voice. My mom detected in his the mournful, resigned note of one that was preparing to meet their maker. "He's dying!" she shouted. Briggs yelled to reassure her.
I'm quite alright, actually.
He still thought that it was his own closeness to death that was worrying my mother. I at last found the light switch and unlocked the door, and Briggs and I joined the others at the attic door. Rex, who never did like Briggs, jumped for him, and Roy had to throw him.
Human.
Roy got to the attic door and pulled on it with a mighty jerk, and Father came down the stairs, sleepy and irritable, but safe and sound. My mother began to weep when she saw him, and Rex began to howl.
What in the name of God is going on here?
Asked Father. The situation had finally been put together like a gigantic jigsaw puzzle. Father caught a cold from prowling around in his bare feet, but there were no other bad results.
I'm glad
Said Mother, who always looked on the bright side of things.
that your grandmother wasn't here.
Thank you. That concludes our evening. Right here. Oh, got it. Everyone, thank you so much. I truly appreciate you guys coming out tonight supporting our students. That concludes our very first ever, and we hope to make it a yearly event of the Mission 1 Act send-off. Thank you so much.